let's go ahead and get started. So thanks for joining today. Today we're looking at the P6-Auditor. The P6-Auditor is a tool that we built several years ago, and we're going to run through why, and we're going to show it in action. So I'm Nicole Jardin, joining actually today from Montreal, and I'm the founder and CEO of Emerald. And I've got Sue Familia doing the heavy lifting here from Wyoming. She's going to show the tool in action. So let's take a look at some of the reasons why we built the tool. So the common struggles that we face as administrators of P6. So with it being a multi-user, multi-project environment, we face some challenges, particularly with dealing with global data. So things like resource dictionaries, code dictionaries, enterprise project structures, calendars. Some of that data you can kind of isolate or control, but not all of it. Some of it is shared. So managing it, making sure you're monitoring what's going on with it is an important piece. Understanding who's doing what in the system. So who deleted a project, who moved an EPS structure, or who deleted or moved resources. Okay, those can have huge impacts on your user base. So wanting to understand that, understand whether somebody did that by mistake, what were they doing? Maybe they don't even realize they moved something. Okay, so that kind of thing is a challenge in P6. And then we get asked pretty frequently, who's actually logging in? One of the groups we work with was saying, we don't seem to be getting much updating done. So can we actually monitor who's doing what in terms of updating on a weekly basis? So those are all things that P6-Auditor can help you with, can help you answer the question. So the two common things are, how do you deal with deleting global data? It can be quite a challenge, and how much time you spend each month dealing with this. These are really the two key things that probably prompted you to attend the webinar, because maybe you're struggling with some of those things, or you feel like there's got to be a better way, and or I'm spending way too much time dealing with these sorts of things. Okay? So in terms of how it works, pretty simple. It can be deployed in many different environments. So we've got clients currently using P6-Auditor within their own environment, and that's how we built it originally. More recently, in the later versions, we've actually made it work in a slightly different way, which allows us to use it in a hosted cloud, like in the P6 Oracle P6 Cloud. And or if you've got it hosted in a different third-party environment, like on Amazon, or like on a Microsoft environment, or Azure environment. Okay, so it doesn't really matter to us. Or if you've got it hosted with us, obviously that's super easy for us. Okay, so there's different, essentially any way you deploy it now, it can work. And that's in the most recent versions. So the tool audits events. So things that we would call an event are an add, a delete, an update, or edit would be another way to think of an event. And that would be on all sorts of different parts of the software. Okay, so Sue will show that in detail, but things, as we mentioned, like calendars. Did someone change any of the main calendars? Because that can influence many projects. Did someone change a resource dictionary? Changing, it could be adding a resource, deleting, which can be very, very dangerous and have a big impact, because a resource could be used across many, many projects. So you want to be able to monitor those sorts of events. And who did it, okay, and who's logging in? Who's actually logging in? Who's actually doing updates? That sort of information can be really important, for a bunch of different reasons. Managing your licenses, understanding people's usage, for understanding the server sizing, and so on. So there can be a lot of reasons why understanding your user activity can be helpful for the team. And then usage reports. So where are things being used? So we've got usage reports in our P6 Loader tool as well. So we've cross-pollinated that functionality, but we also have it in Auditor. So we can see where things are actually being used. So where is a calendar actually being used? Where is a resource actually being used? Because it's not that easy to do that without opening all the projects in P6, especially in P6 Client. P6 Web has a bit of information, but still I find it's not that easy to work with. So P6 Auditor does a great job with that, and Sue will run through that and show you those in detail. And then what she'll show you is you create a report similar to making a layout. You save it and you can reuse it. And that way, if you're getting regularly, if you need to give feedback regularly, how many users logged in this week, you can have that readily available and rerun the report. So it's quite easy to work with. And typical things that we're going to look at is the global data, the codes and user defines, and of course, project activities, resources, that sort of information. So pretty much you can cross over a variety of different data elements. And on the usage, so where something's being used, again, we'll cross over the global data is what you're looking at this for. So calendars, resources and roles, codes and UDFs. And in terms of the users, so we touched on logging in, active sessions, so how long they've been logged in for, that sort of stuff, and licensing, okay? So that you can see who's got what licenses, and then that can help you manage the user base that you've got to deal with. Okay, so I will go ahead and stop sharing, and I'll pass it over to Sue, and she's going to jump in and show us in detail how P6 Auditor works.
Okay, good morning. I'm just going to share my screen, and let's go in and take a look at the tool. Okay, so with P6 Auditor, we have 3 modules that we have, and Nicole just went over them, but I'm going to go over them in some detail. So first of all, we have our event reporting. So on our event reporting, essentially, you'll be able to see the tables that are turned on by your administrator for auditing purposes. And so it's going to give you a list of those tables that you can actually search and take a look at. So the first example I want to just kind of touch on is perhaps a movement of the EPS, an EPS in your database. So I have my P6 open here, and underneath my auditor EPS here, I formerly had an auditing EPS that was there, that I had moved there recently. So I can go in and I can, find it, try to find it, see if it's actually missing or if it's deleted. And I can see here that it was moved to this underneath this other EPS here. And I'm kind of wondering who did that, because maybe there's a disagreement on where this EPS should actually be housed, under what parent it should be under. So what I can do is I can go into Auditor, and I can take a look at that and find out, who moved it and when it was moved. And then maybe we need to have a discussion about where the best place for this EPS is. So on my table here, it shows 10 to begin with, but I can actually open this up and I can show many different records on this. So when I can look at that, there's a lot here. There's a lot that I can potentially use here. So I can filter these. So if I go in and I filter, I know I'm looking for a particular EPS. So I can use my filter here, and I can put in what I'm looking for. So, whoops, I'm looking for the auditor EPS. When I apply that, it's going to narrow it down. And as I'm looking down my table, I can see some areas where it actually got moved. So I can see my EPS path where I moved it from one place to the other, from the P6 loader to the auditor. And then I can also see where this P6 loader user also moved it back. So when I look at that, I'm able to find out who did it and when it happened, as well as where it went to and where it got moved to. So I might want to get a hold of this P6 loader user and have a discussion about, okay, well, maybe this needs to be in a different place. Maybe it doesn't, we need to decide where this EPS is actually going to live, so to speak. So this would give me a lot of good information so that I could track it down and find what happened with that EPS when it was moved, and who maybe I need to talk to about it. Now, another thing in my database is that I'm missing a project that was created earlier. And that project was one that I had created, and it's now, I can't find it in my database. So I could go in and I could search again. And find out that it's gone. So I can go in with P6-Auditor and I can find in my project audit here, I can go in and find out where it is and what's happening. So when I do that, when I have something that is gone in the projects area, I can't really tell. The project short name is going to be blank because, of course, it's not there anymore. But what I can do is I can scroll over into, let me reload this layout here. Okay, I'm not getting what I need. So first of all, maybe I want to just filter by a deletion. So I can go in and put contains or equals, doesn't matter. And I'm going to put delete in here so that I can apply that filter. And for some reason, it's not showing up. Let's try that again. Maybe I'll put equals this time. Okay, there it is. So I can see that I had a project that was there, but it's not showing me the name of it. So what I can do is I can go off into my columns here, and I can see where I have this project short name, and there's my project there. However, it's kind of awkward that project short name is up way back. So what I can do is I can grab that column and I can move it up to the front so that it's easier for me to see. And the good thing about this is that once I have it placed where I want it to be, maybe I want to have a layout that is exactly as I set it up. So I want to have this project short name up here at the front. I can go into my layouts here and I can actually save this. And so it's going to save this layout for me. And I can just save it and name it. I could put a note in if I want to, and then I can apply it. So it's going to save this so I can use it again. But as I'm looking, I can see that it went from being a project to blank, meaning, of course, it was deleted. I can find out that what date it was deleted, and then I can also find out what user did delete it. So again, that P6-Loader user has deleted my project, and I can go in and I can actually go back to a backup and have it restored, and I know what date to have it restored to. So it'll allow either my my IT group to find that for me and re-import it, or if I use P6-Loader backup, I could go in and I could self-serve that, where with P6-Loader you can back up projects and global data, and you could do it for a particular date, then go in yourself and download the file that you need and then import it yourself. So but this date is going to tell me when should I go back and look for that project so that I can restore it. So another thing that I have found in my database here is that I have a project that's missing some values. I assigned those values, they should be there, and they're not there anymore. So I have this, they're on my layout, so I know that they exist. So, I might just want to go check, where are my activity codes and what's happening with them. And I can go in and I can take a look, and sure enough, there they are. So there's the values. Yep, that's exactly what needed to, that's what needs to be there. But why are they not assigned to my project? So I can go in to P6-Auditor again, and this time I'm going to look at activity codes. So when I go to look at activity codes, I can see right here at the front, or at the top, excuse me, that here's my phase and my equipment, and they were deleted. And it looks like that darn P6-Loader user is messing around with my data again. So then I look above it, and it looks like they restored it. So what happens, it looks like, they deleted it, and then about 10 minutes later decided, oh shoot, I shouldn't have deleted that. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna restore it. I'm gonna put those values and those activity codes back. Well, the problem with that is that once they deleted it, it removed it from my project. And when you restore it, it doesn't reassign it back. So I may need to talk to this P6-Loader user, and maybe they're new. Maybe they don't realize that when you delete an activity code or a code of some sort, that it actually takes away those assignments as well. And when you restore it, it does not reassign them. And so maybe I need to have, just a discussion with that user and just explain what happens. Again, it's going to give me a date so I can go back, and if I need to restore that project, again, from a backup, I have a date in which I can go back and restore that as well. So it gives us a lot of information about, changes. It gives us information about deletions and additions as well. So you can really track down what's going on in your database if you have the need to do that. So the second module that we have is usage reporting. So in our usage module, we have our global data here, where we can take a look at how our global data is being used. So let's say we want to analyze our calendars. Now I can do that in two ways, and all these screens have the same two panes on them here at the top. Maybe I want to find out what calendars are being used in a project. So I can click on the project on the left, and it looks like there's no calendars being used here. Let me refresh that again and see if I can. There we go. Let me try a different one. There we go. Okay, so we have our calendars. So in this project, these are the calendars that are being utilized by that project. I can look at several if I want to, and it's going to identify those that are checkmarked, and it's going to tell me in the project name which project is using those calendars. Now, I can also look at it from the calendar side. Oh, I'm not even in calendars. Let's go to calendars. Okay, so let's say I want to analyze my calendars and where they're being used. I can click on the calendar itself, or whatever data you have in your global area. And on the calendars, it's going to tell me, again, the project or projects that those calendars are being used in. Now, maybe I have a database that's been out there for a while, and maybe I've archived some projects and things like that. And I want to find out if some of my global calendars maybe aren't being used at this point. Now, an example of this is that I have these number 10 calendars. So when I click in those, it's showing me that there are no projects using those calendars. So because there's no projects in there, I would probably want to consider, do I need these global calendars anymore? If they're archived and maybe exported out, the calendar is still going to be assigned to them in that XER or XML. However, it's not going to, I'm not going to need them in my database right now. So maybe I want to delete them from my database. And then if I do need to restore that project, that calendar is going to come in anyway. So this is a great way to kind of look at your global data and find out, maybe what's not being used currently in your database, so that you can kind of do some cleanup out there for that database. So this holds true for activity codes. It does the actual values for each activity code. Calendars, of course, we can go to resources. So if I wanted to see where a particular resource was used, maybe I want to go look at where all this resource tree is used. I can find out what projects or project it's being used in, and then decide whether or not that particular resource is necessary still in the database. I can also do that by project, of course. I can also do that for roles and my user-defined fields. So a lot of times we have user-defined fields that are obsolete. And so perhaps we might want to analyze those and find out if there are any that we could get rid of, because we can have tons and tons of user-defined fields. And sometimes it's nice to just go through and clean up that list to make sure that everything out there is actually being utilized at this in this database. Now, finally, we have our user activity module here. Now, it's going to show me the active sessions, so who's logged in at any given time. And we also have our user licenses here. Now, this might be one I want to look at on a regular basis. I'm just going to expand this out here. So I actually have a layout that I've created for this particular reason, is to find out who has a license in my database, what users have a license. So I have a layout that I'm just going to choose, and I'm going to load it. And it's going to bring up a layout with a filter on it so that I don't have to build that every single time I come in and look for my users that are licensed. So maybe I have a leader or a manager who wants to see these licenses. Maybe my IT is seeing if any licensing requirements need to be adjusted. Maybe they need more licenses or something of that nature. I could actually export any of these tables out to an Excel file. Then I'm able to save it, and I could share it with others, whether that be by email or what have you. I can actually do a report and send it out and share it. So we've made it pretty easy to do some actual reporting on all of these tables as well. Now, another thing that I may want to do is, let's say I have I want to find out who's been utilizing my database. I have quite a few users in here. Again, I'm going to open this up so we can see the users we have in here. However, I want to see who has been logging in and when. So I can go in, and I have this last 30 days of logins, and I can sort this. So if I sort it with descending, it's going to come in, and I'm going to be able to see very quickly which users are utilizing this database on recently and which users aren't. So perhaps we may want to analyze whether these users actually need any type of access in here, and then also compare it to my license usage, see if they actually have a license at this point, and see if there's something that maybe we need to adjust on our user basis. So this is actually a very easy tool to use. It's pretty intuitive. We have sorts, we have filters, we have information about in our event reporting about deletions, whether it's been inserted, whether it's been changed, things like that. And this is a lot easier than trying to either build a report from the tables that are already existing, or trying to get my IT to find out maybe some of these pieces of information when I'm in maybe a bind and have a missing project and am in a panic as to where my project is. I can self-serve this, and I can take a look at what's happened in my database. So before I hand back over to Nicole, are there questions?
I think we touched on the questions. There aren't any questions about the tool just yet, but if you have any, go ahead and put them in the question room and we'll address them. If you want to see something in action, if you have a specific thing you want to see, it would be good for you to put it in now so Sue can show you now. Yeah, so I think did you do a resource example? So that's another one that I've had it for a few clients, is a resource was either renamed or moved around, deleted. So that's another one that I know I've had to use.
Yeah, I didn't do a specific example, okay, but it is the same. Yeah. Essentially these tables are the same. They have, your information as you go over, so you can see what has been changed, yeah, on each one of these. It gives you, specific things. So like, a blank to a yes, that's obviously an insert. Mm-hmm. And then on updates, it's going to tell you what was changed on that, whether it's, your your quantity, I can't speak, a summarization date or a sum date, flags, parent resources, things like that. So okay, you can easily see where they've been moved, where they've been deleted. And again, you can utilize some of the filtering that we have available in these tables.
Okay, perfect. And the other thing is, if you're administering the system, you could have a report that looks for deletes, right? So you don't have to wait. So
Absolutely.
first thing in the morning, when you log in, you can go to your auditor and you could run, did anyone delete something yesterday? So you have those preset and you just run them each morning. And then if everything comes out empty, then you know you don't have any problems to deal with today or panics to deal with today. So you can be preemptive. That's the other thing that's handy with the P6 Auditor, is you can think of the typical things that you've had, the kind of problems you can run into. And deleting is the most horrible problem to deal with, right? Because especially if it's a global data element, if it gets deleted, it could impact many, many schedules. So you can be preemptive on that one every day. So that's another thing that you can use this for. So, okay, so it doesn't seem like there's any questions right now. So why don't I go ahead and take it back and I will do the wrap up. It is a pretty intuitive piece of software to work with. So, okay, I'll take control and I will share the screen. Okay, good. So hopefully you saw something of interest. If you have to administer a large database with lots of users that are not necessarily close to one another, maybe in different plants, different parts of the world, it can be a challenge. So let's touch on some of the benefits that our existing clients have brought to our attention. We'll share with you some of the things that they found about the tool, and then we can see if there's any questions after that, and then close out. So time, well, admin, the reaction time to problems goes up very quickly because you can answer the question very quickly. Something's missing, what happened to it, when did it happen? So very quickly you can find who deleted a global code and get that addressed quickly. Now, addressing it quickly is, of course, going to depend on where you've got your P6, okay? So if you've got P6 up in the Oracle cloud, you need to be doing backups of your projects. And you need to make sure you're doing that. And I would use the job services at minimum, and our P6 loader has amazing new functionality we just added to help with doing backups, especially in the Oracle cloud, okay? Because you don't have maybe that exact same reaction time that you would have if you were hosting with Emerald or if you were hosting internally, okay? So those are things to be very mindful of. If something gets deleted, how are you going to get it back? Accessibility. So it's easy to use. When we roll this out, we don't need to do a lot of coaching. So we usually coach the super users, administrators of P6, and we sell it by database. So we don't sell it by user, we sell it by database. So if you've got 10, 20, 30 users that you want to have access to this, it doesn't change the price. And then we do some sessions. So we run through some of the typical things that they know they want to do, and we get some layouts saved with them during the training, and then that's usually all the coaching that's needed. Now, once in a while, they might need a little bit of extra help on a special situation, but generally it doesn't require a lot of coaching. One of the quotes there is a good one. We needed to manage a lot of big groups and deal with EPS nodes moving. So that does seem to happen, whether I'm still not convinced it's not a bug in the software, because I've had some EPS nodes move for some clients, and I don't think they move them. So I do think there might be a bug in the software, but P6 Auditor helped us see which user that was happening under. So that's another big thing, because EPS is, of course, control security. And some people didn't have access to their projects because of those moves. So it can be a big frustration when it happens. That's a big thing. So we talked about the users, so the user base. So if you've got 50 licenses and you only have 40 users, let's say, actively using it, you may be able to reduce some of your users, your licenses. Okay, so that's part of it. Or if it looks like you need more users, which you're not supposed to do, but certainly we've had clients that end up having too many users in. This gives us a chance to take a look and then rectify the situation and get more licenses so that they're in compliance. Okay. Now, something to keep in mind, you're supposed to have licenses for any user accessing data, even if it's not through P6. Okay, so P6 data being pushed out to Power BI, etc., you are supposed to have licenses for those Power BI users. So that's something to be very mindful of. You'll be in non-compliance if Oracle audits you. So understanding your user base is very important. And then, of course, security. We want to make sure our database is tidy, clean, but we can't always secure every aspect of it. So when you've got XCRs that people are loading in, so that's another reason we built another one of our tools, P6 Scrubber, is to manage the XCRs, manage what's being brought in. So those are things that are important. Now, Sue didn't explicitly talk about it, but we are adhering to security when we're looking at this data. Okay, so that touches on some of the feedback. So again, hopefully you saw something of interest. If you've got a large user base, you probably have experienced some of those pain points that Auditor helps you analyze against. Now, this is just one of our many tools. So we've been in business for 27 years. And from the very beginning, we've had programmers on our team. So we do have a large toolkit. I think it's the broadest toolkit on the market for P6 and for other Oracle tools like Unifier. Of course, contract management as well, which is no longer being sold, but we have a large toolkit for that as well. So reach out if there's things that are of interest. And join some of our other webinars. I touched on our P6 loader. We've got our P6 scrubber that cleans up the XCRs, which is a newer tool. And we've got clients using that in all sectors. So engineering companies, contractors, as well as owner groups. So look at some of those. Look at our updating tools, our CAPS and TAPS, and team member from Oracle. We have those three. And P6 loader lets you do updating as well. And then if you want to get more value out of P6 with more automation, more calculations, our P6 calculator is a good one. And if you want to analyze the quality of schedules that you're getting or putting together, join our P6 QA, because that one's an excellent one too to help you improve the quality of the data that's in P6 and the quality of your schedules. So definitely join some of our other webinars and find out more about those different things too, that we have bolt-ons that will help you use P6 even better. So I still don't see any questions, but if you do have any, certainly reach out. You've got Sue's email there, and reach out that way. And if you do want us to follow up with you in a certain manner, if you want us to reach out by phone, or if you want to stay in contact, you can answer these questions in a poll. It just helps us know how to follow up better with you specifically. That way we're using your time efficiently as well as ours. Okay, good. So I think we can probably close up at this point, but we can also stay on. I'll stop the recording here, but we can stay on